Riyaz Rafi Ahmad. Not only is he an expert on information and cybersecurity, which he has helped people throughout the world. His skills in the software field is unfathomable, specializing in DevOps, security startups, risk assessment and mitigation, and so much more. Cybersecurity plays a major role in today's technology developing world, where securing your data and information is a priority. Mr. Reyes will be imparting his knowledge and will also encourage us to be a part of this cybersecurity team. We are lucky to have someone as experienced as Mr. Reyes to share his knowledge and experience with us. We would like to express our gratitude for giving us time from his busy schedule and enlightening us with his knowledge. I am confident that his knowledge will help us gain that he call upon our distinguished speaker, Mr. Riyaz Rafi Ahmad, to start the event.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all able to hear me. Can you please confirm?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yes. All right. Fine. Perfect. So, very good afternoon to like everyone here, and thank you so much for having me. And thanks to the VIT organization as well as everyone who has put together this wonderful event. And yeah, we'll just get started. Let me quickly share my screen. Um, so just a second. Okay, you're able to see.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Just a second. Like, are you guys able to hear me? Um, hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. My like headphone just ran out of battery for no reason, so let me just resume the presentation. Yeah. So what are the different career options we have in cybersecurity and why you should pick it, right? So before we get started, I'll just run over the different topics that we'll be covering today. So first up is what are the different paths that we have in cybersecurity as well as the different roles, right? And next up, we'll go over my job role. What exactly do I do in a startup security environment, right? What exactly is DevOps, DevSecOps, all these new terms that you're hearing about. So we'll go over a quick, like a summary of what exactly they mean. And following that, how can you, so I'm guessing the people here are first year, second year, and a third year student. So if you are interested in cybersecurity, where exactly do you start your career from? What do you study? What pathways can you pick? What certifications do you need? Do you need to go for certifications, courses, etc.? So I'll give you a quick brief of that. And the most famous term in security, bug bounties, right? Most of you might have heard of it. So what exactly are bug bounties? Should you get into them right now and etc. We'll cover that as well as what is the security mindset? What does it take for a person to know there are very few people who are working in cybersecurity? Why are there so less people working in security, but many software developers and like software architects? But why is it that many less people pick this domain, right? So what mindset would you require to actually make a career in this domain? So I'll explain that as well as the questions. So if you have any questions during the entire presentation, so just hold them off until the end and I'll answer every single one of them, right? So the about me slide, I think it's completed, so I'll just skip it. And yeah, we'll just get started. So what exactly is cybersecurity? Let me just give a textbook definition, right? So practice of protecting the systems and networks. Now, there are two terms here. One is this, like the systems which your office owns or your like organization, school, like university, anything. So any system or any like electronic device, and the process of protecting it is what we will call as security. And what you will be protecting these from is basically from digital and sometimes even physical attacks. So you could ask me, hey, Riyaz, what is the difference between a digital and a physical attack, right? So no one's going to come and stab a computer. Yes, you're right. No one's going to stab a computer, but they could insert a USB into the computer. So that is considered a physical attack. If a USB has a malware and they happen to insert that USB into the computer, then we would consider that as a physical attack. And digital attacks, I'm sure you're all aware, like denial of service, digital like distributed denial of service, DDoS, SQL injections, cross-site scripting, the list goes on and on, right? So you could also define it as a more non-textbook definition, I would say, is it's a pursuit to secure the information systems, the data on them, and the services that they provide. Now, these are from an organizational perspective, right? So when you look at it in a broader perspective, you'll understand that security is just about protecting systems that every single people like rely on. For example, healthcare, banking, telecommunications, energy, transportation. Now imagine what would happen if our energy grid was hacked. The entire nation would not have any power, right? So security applies to every single domain of this world, if you think about it. So every single domain, every single business, whether it's a small business or a big business, whether you're a college student or you're the CEO of a company, security applies to like everyone. Now, who does this? Who are the people who are running the security of an organization, right? So this is mostly done by penetration testers, security engineers, incident responders. So these terms might be very questionable right now, but I will explain them towards the end, right? So yeah, so let me just, instead of taking it slow, I'll just bombard you all with this one diagram right here. So these are all the various domains that exist in like cybersecurity, right? So I'll just quickly go over the main domains that exist instead of going over the small ones. So we have security operations, then we have security like architecture, then we have risk assessment, post which we have governance and threat intelligence. The career development part and the frameworks and standards are not exactly domains, but these help support the other domains, right? So security operations is what people would do in an organization to continue to like ensure that the organization is safe from security threats, right? So let's say a security threat is like incoming, the operations part will ensure that they like handle that incoming threat from the like initial stages towards the closure as well by preparing some post-mortem reports, some threat reports, and etc. Now, post-mortem reports might sound like it came out of a doctor movie, but we do it in security as well, right? So security architecture is how you architect your entire organization and the AWS architecture of your organization, the cloud architecture, the application architecture in such a way that it is defended against the like attacks that come. So this is more of a defensive part, but like if you know the like offensive part of security, that would help here as well. And when it comes to risk assessment, this is more of a non-technical part into security. So these two are like highly technical areas into security, whereas risk assessment takes a more, I would say, a policy-based and a law-based approach to security. So what you do here is basically you come up with policies and different sort of procedures and stuff so that you could help keep your organization safe from a law perspective and from a policy perspective, right? So this is required for like your like NIST frameworks and your like ISO scans and like etc. Then you have governance. So risk assessment and governance go hand in hand. Usually in an organization, this entire team is called the GRC team. Governance, risk and compliance. So this entire risk assessment and governance part is taken care of by the GRC team. And threat intelligence is basically you knowing that a threat is about to come, right? So the intelligence that you have that, okay, a threat is incoming, that is called the threat intelligence. Now there's a very niche domain here called user like education, which is what I'm doing right now. So training and like awareness. So this is what I'm doing currently, like via this talk. So very niche domain. Many people don't do this, but these are the people that are most likely to make all the noise. So this is just a broad overview of all the like domains that are there. So let's dive into what are the categories of the jobs that are there, right? So the best part about security is that there are many different fields. It's not like you enter into software development and you have to sit and code for the rest of your life. There are so many fields that I could talk for 3 hours, 4 hours, and I would still not cover every single field, right? So what I'll do is I've categorized them into four different domains. So the first one is govern and support. Then you have protect and defend, design and develop, operate and maintain. So these are the four broad categories into which you can put every single cybersecurity domain into. So let's take an example, right? So you have govern and support. So now when I say govern and support, what I actually mean is you sort of manage and provide some sort of support to ensure that and like your organization will conduct effective security work and they are safe from all sort of threats, right? So the roles in within this boundary would involve a cyber legal advisor, a policy like analyst, privacy officer, risk analyst. So these are non-technical roles, but they do involve a little bit of technical information as well. So yeah, so this is where you govern the security policies of an organization and help support it. You're not building any technical architecture or something. Uh, People usually don't start off their career as like legal advisors or privacy officers or risk analysts, but it is possible if you're very much interested into risk management and stuff, you could start your career off as a risk analyst or a policy analyst. This is mostly done in organizations such as like Deloitte and PwC, right? I think they would also come to VIT for hiring. I think I've seen a couple of VIT juniors being placed into Deloitte and PwC, but yeah, this is the first domain. The second one is protect and defend. Now, this is where I work, right? So the main role of this protect and defend categorization is basically to detect, prevent, and respond to and recover. So you'll be doing this whole life cycle of a threat to protect your organization from cyber incidents and threats. So the basic roles here would be cyber threat assessor or a data scientist, model, big data analyst, cybersecurity analyst, information security analyst, like vulnerability assessment analyst. So while DevSecOps does not exactly have a role here because it encompasses the entire security like life cycle of the entire organization and like the software development life cycle, like the like SDLC, but we'll cover that like later on, right? Then you have the penetration tester, which is the most famous role in security. Whenever you hear someone talk about security, more or less likely it is about penetration testing. So we'll cover that and what exactly does it encompass. But next up we have design and develop. Now this is a very interesting domain in security because what you'll be doing here is extremely technical. You'll be developing, securing, testing, and integrating the hardware and software components into the systems throughout a product's life cycle. So let's take my organization, for example. I work at ChargeBee, which is a fintech startup, right? So the security like architects of ChargeBee, like the security like engineers, application developers, secure software developers. These are the people that help design and develop the security posture of an organization. So it is very much possible for you to start off your career as any one of these. You can maybe not this security like architect, but you can start off as a security engineer, security engineering intern, like how I started my career. And there are plenty of options like this. And the last domain would be operate and maintain. Now, without this domain, the other three domains are useless because let's say you make ice cream and you just take it out in the sun, the ice cream is going to melt. So unless you maintain the temperature of the ice cream, it's useless, right? So in a similar way, the role of operate and maintain category is to like administer and support the entire security function to ensure that the performance is there and nothing gets degraded, right? So this can be network security operators, crypto analysts, technical support specialists, and etc. Now, we'll just jump right into the top entry-level jobs that you could look for if at all you have picked cybersecurity as your domain or you're planning on picking cybersecurity as your domain, which I would highly advise. So you could start off as a security like analyst and go into just a sec. Getting notifications. Just put this. Cool. Yeah. So then you have the security specialist roles. I mean, you may not be able to start off as a specialist, but if you have enough knowledge, then yes, like who knows, you might as well start off as a specialist. Then you have incident responders, cryptographers, security like architect interns. Then you have source code auditors, security engineer, penetration testing. Pen testing is what most people pick as the entry level job, but I would like it's a very debatable topic, right? Is penetration testing an entry level job or not? So you have a forensic expert, security like auditors. So these are just a couple of the like domains you could start off your career in. So what I'll do now is I just explain what some of these job roles are, what are the job responsibilities, and I'll take some 2 or 3 live job descriptions from LinkedIn, and I'll show you guys that, hey, there's a lot of scope here, right? So security like analysts, what do security analysts do? So basically keep business intelligence safe, and you'll work with data. The term like analyst itself means you're not working with people, you're working with data. So you'll have like a bunch of data just thrown at you, and you need to figure out and spot the suspicious like activities in the databases, right? The servers, like the network access logs, etc. So it is considered an like entry level cybersecurity job. So if you have a bachelor's degree in a computer science field, you're like well into this domain, you could easily get this job. So usually what happens is security engineers will go into security managers. I'm sorry, security like analysts would often get promoted into security managers who will take on a more senior role and sort of have like subordinate like analysts under them to run the day-to-day like security tasks, right? The top industries that hire security analysts are especially financial services like ChargeBee, then you have government organizations, healthcare, then you have manufacturing and non-profit companies, right? So these are just a couple of the job descriptions that you can see here. We have one from Qualys, which is a very popular security company. They offer SAST, DAST, and all such security services. Then you have like IBM, which is very popular again. So if you see here, these are the job responsibilities that they will tell you. So you need to like have a good understanding of the like technology and services like REST APIs, Java, PowerShell, and AWS Azure, and etc. Right? So if you see here, the experience level is 0 to 3 years. And over here also, they haven't mentioned the experience level, but you can also apply to these jobs, right? So now some of these will ask certifications. So CISSP is impossible for someone with 0 to 3 years of experience. So just don't let these drag you down, right? So I would say even if you don't have any of these certifications, but you have a good understanding of security, you can apply to it, right? And next up, you have incident responder. So incident responder is sort of like, in these like olden ages, right? Whenever there was a war coming, they would ring a bell from up top, right? There would be this huge bell and people would just go and ring it to warn the citizens to run and hide. That is a good like analogy of what an incident responder is. When an incident occurs, and you could define incident as any security breach, security attack or something, what you're going to do is basically ring that bell and tell the entire organization, hey guys, be careful. There's an incident, there's an attack coming. So you will go and be the front line. So you will go and start defending against the attack. You will put the necessary policies and technical measures in place so your organization is safe, right? So you'll be using digital forensics as well to investigate the breaches after, during, or before it happens. And like you basically just like assess the systems for risk and automation testing. Yeah, a little bit of automation testing, Selenium test cases maybe, and you'll be having some system analysis in place to make sure that the threat which comes, you're able to identify it and mitigate it, right? Uh, okay, so this is a high pressure role because you will be in a lot of stress because when there's an incident coming, it's not just like you could just drink coffee and like respond to an incident. There are people who do that, but that requires a lot of experience, right? So initially it'll be a high pressure role, but once you get used to it, it's super interesting. And like if you have 2 to 3 years of experience, only then you could get into cyber forensics or infosec response. But this is can also be considered an entry level role, right? So mostly if you have some sysadmin experience or network admin experience, it would be like a lot of helpful because you would understand the basics that are required in security, which is just networking and system basics. I think you might have a paper in your next couple of years called, I think, a computer architecture, CA, right? So that paper is also very important for incident response and anything in security, right? So this involves every single sector, not just limited to finance, non-profit, every single like a sector or business you can think of, there will be like an incident responder. So these are just a couple of the examples. You have one from Microsoft and from Walmart. So SOC stands for Security Operations Center, which is the center inside which all the incident response teams and all will work out of. So this is asking for a bachelor's degree or 5+ years of experience, right? So since you guys will eventually have a bachelor's degree, you could easily apply for this position. And if I'm not wrong, I think VIT also has a specialization in like a cybersecurity. So yeah, that's also a great thing. And yeah, let's go to the security architect. I'll quickly breeze through what the architect would do because I've already covered what it does in that huge mind map that I was showing. So basically, you'll be architecting the entire security like architecture of your organization with respect to cloud and your application, right? So your cloud architecture, you'll be embedding security into each and every component of your cloud architecture, like VPCs, your EC2 instances should be secure. And when it comes to application security, you must design your application in such a way that it is secure, right? So this is by no way an entry level role. It requires at least 7 to 10 years of experience because you would need to understand how cloud works, how the application works, how it is built. Only then you'll be able to secure it, right? So security architects are in very huge demand, extremely huge demand. I can say that. So we have like around, I think, just 3 or 4 security architects in our organization, and they'll be pulled into every single meeting. Every single meeting they should be there, because if you're going to take any decision without a security architect, then there is no security inside that module which you're discussing, right? So a very important role. So you could have this as your goal, right? So it's a really, really good role. And these are just some of the examples. Cloud security architects from AWS. So this is the organization which is running the entire cloud infra. Then like you have like Azure and Google Cloud and like Oracle Cloud. You have like IBM Cloud, etc. But those are very niche players, right? Most of the organizations and startups just stick to AWS, like Amazon Web Services. And Amazon is not just for having like 1 day deliveries of all beauty products. You could also use AWS. So just Google it out. If you want, you could also Google AWS EDUCATE, AWS Educate. That will give you more information. So it is tailored towards students who don't know what AWS is, right? And the GOAT, I guess you could say it in the new terms, penetration testing. So what penetration testing does is you basically just break the application however you can, and you figure out ways how to break the application. It is not defensive, it's completely an offensive approach, right? So if you'll be given an application and you'll be looking for ways to break it and enter it, right? So these are also called as hackers, or more often known as ethical hackers, because they don't hack for bad things. They hack for good reasons, right? They hack and they'll tell you that, hey, I was able to get into your application. You probably might want to fix this breach, right? You probably might want to fix this vulnerability that I've exploited to enter into your systems. And yeah, you'll be performing wireless assessments. You'll be wearing hoodies. Like I'm just kidding about the hoodies part, but yeah, you'll be doing wireless assessments, physical assessments of underlying hardware, social engineering tests, which I have done as well. You'll be doing phishing assessments, which I've also done. And yeah, this is just a very super interesting role. So the low level pen testing roles, like if you have just a year or just 6 months of internship experience, that should do, right? So we have people in an organization who have joined after completing their masters in information security, just fresh out of graduation, right? So many pen testers usually become like information technology managers or information security managers because they understand how to break into applications, right? So they would also know how to defend like against it. And industries like banking are the main industries where they will have to secure their client data. So they'll hire penetration testers to break into their systems, and they'll pay them, right? So these are just a couple of the pen tester roles. So they say CH mandatory. CH, I wouldn't really recommend it. It's just a waste of like money. So just don't go for CH. But yeah, if you can see the roles here, you'll be doing network pen tests and red team engagements. Well, the offensive side of security is what we call red team, and the blue team is the defensive side. And there is a new team called purple team, which does both. So I belong to the purple team. So we do a red team, we do blue team, we mix both of it, then we learn from our experiences, right? So this is also a recent post that I sort of like came across. So if you can see here, Yeah, so you could also work towards your OSCP when working at this role, right? So this is from UK. So CTFs and hack the box, further reading lab work. These are the things that you would be doing if you pick the penetration tester route. And security engineer is very closely like related to my role. So I'll just quickly just breeze through this. I'll be covering this in the next slide, right? So basically, it's a little bit of everything. It's basically a software architect, but the like entry level software architect is what we would call security engineer, right? It's purely technical. And this is just an example of that role. So as you can see here, they just need a bachelor's degree or equivalent experience. So if you have a bachelor's degree, you're good, right? And this is a quick sheet of, how do I put this? This is a quick sheet of all the roles that you have and the certifications that you could take if you want to reach it, right? So if you're a foundation, I guess you all would be in the foundational stage. So let's say if you want to become a cybersecurity manager, then you could start off with these certifications. And once you get experience, you could pick these and you could just go your way upwards, right? So I'll share all these resources with you towards the end. Now, these are not set in stone, right? It's not like if you don't have this, you cannot become a forensic analyst or an incident responder. These are sort of like a pathway. You could follow it. You could pick one certification or two or none, right? So in my career, I've had zero certifications. I do not believe in certifications. I think that they're just a piece of paper and it's just a money-making scheme. So I don't personally believe in certifications. I was able to get this far without any certification, right? But then again, if you're looking to go to foreign countries, then they would ask for certifications, right? So it's a mixed field. So you might have to think about it a little bit, or you could reach out to me and just ask me a couple of questions and I would be happy to answer. And this is also a very similar progression chart. So defensive, like offensive security engineering. So your like entry level certifications will be here, right? And then your novice, and then these are all the like advanced certifications, like your like OSCP and all that. So this is just like another image, right? So now that I've covered what are all the different roles that are there, I'll quickly tell you what is my job role, right? So what is my role as a security software engineer in developer security operations? That's a huge title, which is why I just call it security engineer. So basically what I will be doing is I deal with external attacks at my organization's resources. So distributed denial of service, information reconnaissance, cross-site scripting, etc. So let's say I work at a ChargeBee, which I do, and people from different countries with different motivations will attack ChargeBee, right? So my role is to defend ChargeBee and deal with these attacks. And I also develop security countermeasures and deploy these countermeasures to protect important resources against such attacks, like the ones we have spoken point one. So firewall configurations, distributed denial of service protections like Cloudflare, WAF. WAF stands for like web application firewall, and like antivirus systems like ClamAV. So, and we also conduct security awareness campaigns for our employees because there's a saying in security, right? Human beings are always the weakest link in any security framework. So you could have ultimate security, you got the best antivirus, best firewall, but if one of your employees accidentally clicks a phishing email, your job's done, right? Your entire organization is done for. Like they'll install malware, all the systems get encrypted, boom, gone. So security is not just technical, it is also very people related, right? So what I also do is conduct security awareness campaigns for the employees of my organization and explain them the various ways in which cyber criminals work and what is their motivation. So how they will try to get into your mind using social engineering tactics and etc. I also enforce compliance policies from there are different compliance like regulations like ISO, SOC 1, SOC 2, then you have a PCI DSS for card industries, etc. But that's not required right now. So I enforce these compliance policies. So you could think of compliance policies like the FSSAI or FSAAI. I'm not exactly sure what it is. So that sort of regulates the food industry, right? That's the government's regulation for the food industry and the restaurants. In a similar way, for every company that exists to ensure security, there are certain regulations that are put forth by international bodies. So these are the ones that I refer to as compliance like regulations, like ISO and SOC. SOC. Now this SOC does not stand for Security Operations Center. It stands for something else. And I also maintain and improve the architecture of our cloud level deployments in like AWS, like Azure, etc., and conduct penetration testing for the product and AWS deployments, a little bit of everything, right? So we could go in more detailed into this if there's a little bit of time towards the end. So I'll like give you guys some like a very like real life situations where we've been attacked from Russia and China and whatnot. So there are a lot of interesting stories. If there's time, I'll be sure to cover those stories as well. So what skills do you need, right, to enter into security? Now, this is the part where you guys have to take notes. So network security. Now, when I say network security, you must master network first. So you'll have a paper called networks where you'll study about DNS. How does DNS work? You'll study about how network works. What is Wi-Fi? What is HTTPS? How does the internet work? That is the first hard skill that you would require. Digital forensics is not required, but it could be useful, right? And troubleshooting is the number one skill that everyone needs to have. Now, when I say troubleshooting, you could just use Google. That's all. You must know how to Google. That's all. And ethical hacking, yeah, it would help if you could have ethical hacking. And of course, soft skills, teamwork. Now, many people think security means you'll be working alone. You'll be inside a cave wearing a hoodie with some glasses and doing your own stuff. No, security is more of a team related effort, right? You cannot rely on one person to secure the entire organization. It's a teamwork. So one person cannot be the red team, blue team, purple team. They can like attack, defend. They can't do everything. So it has to be a team effort where you rely on each other to secure the organization. There must be complete trust, right? So for example, at a charge B, I take care of the defensive part of it, and I do not go into the offensive part as of yet. So I have an like offensive security team whom I completely trust to ensure that if at all someone comes and attacks us, they will tell us how they're attacking us and how we can defend against it, right? Of course, we also know how to defend, but their input would be very much helpful because they are hackers themselves. Then you need a curiosity. Without curiosity, security cannot exist. Like you must know how things work. You must have this desire to break things apart and understand how it works. That's the concept of engineering, right? When you're in an engineering domain, your number one skill should be curiosity, understanding how things work, right? So if you're in mechanical engineering, you must break apart the car, understand how it works, put it back together. Similar way, now that you're in technology, you must understand how tech works, right? You must be able to rip it apart, understand how it works, then put it back together. Then communication, obviously, if you're going to go into more senior leadership roles, then you must be able to communicate in two languages. One is technical, one is business. That's all. There's no English, Tamil, Hindi. There is like none of that yet. There's just technical and business. When you're talking to like how do I put it? When you're talking to like other engineers within your organization, talk technical. When you're talking to the business leaders like CEOs, CTOs, talk business because they will not understand anything technical. You cannot go to your CEO and say that we've had a DDoS with this much latency. They won't understand anything. You must tell this is the business risk. This is how I've solved it. So the way you communicate should also change, right? And adaptability, yeah. I'm sorry. So you must be able to quickly like adapt to different situations. So let's say you're having an attack and suddenly you're facing one more attack. You must adapt yourself in such a way that you can face these two at the same time and not panic. Because if you panic, then it's game over, right? So if you have no experience, then no problem. The first thing you need to do is network. Leave Instagram, leave your WhatsApp, leave everything. Open your LinkedIn account and start connecting with people across the industry. Any industry that you're interested in. If you're interested in a fashion design, connect with fashion design experts. See what they're doing. So since this is about security, I'm going to talk about the security industry, right? So connect with security experts and see what they're doing. What are the job roles? What are they doing? So if you like, for example, people like Kunal Shah, right? If you see in Twitter, he's the like he's the founder of Cred. So he'll be posting a lot of thoughts, like quotes, I guess you could say. In a similar way, people in the security industry will also post things that might be useful to you. They might have an internship opening. They might say that, hey, this is the next new technology. If you learn it, it's superb. So the first point is to network. Now for like introverts out there, this is online networking. You need not go into events and talk with people, handshake and all that. That'll come eventually. But for now, just stick to like online networking. That is plenty enough. And One more advice I would give is do not look to learn everything in security. That is just impossible, right? Focus on one area of security that you find interesting. And until you find that area, explore as much as you can. Explore network security, natural language processing, explore healthcare security, all the different domains until you arrive at that one domain which you think is the best for you and that the industry needs, right? So think 5 to 10 years ahead and picture yourself working in whatever role that you want and trace backwards and understand the basics of IT. Please don't enter directly into pen testing without understanding what technology or IT is, right? Understand administering, configuring systems, networks, databases, SQL, no SQL, etc. So the more basics you gather from each industry, the better your possibility of landing a security role in that industry, right? So gain practical experience. This is very important because let's put it this way. Let's say you're a business owner, 15 years of business, you're doing very well. Will you hire a new fresher to take care of your finances? No, right? You're not going to hire a new person or a new CA. You will hire someone who has experience. In a similar way, organizations will not hire security people who do not have experience or who do not have knowledge equivalent to that of the experience, right? So what you could do is you could offer to work for startups for free, or you could look for internships. You could build projects which prove that you have the knowledge that you claim to have, right? Certifications might help, but they're not always helpful. So there are usually these three pathways. So you could get a certificate and get an entry level role. That's it. Your job's done. Or right now, what you guys are doing is you're getting a bachelor's or a graduate degree, right? You could directly get a role after your graduation. And then with work experience, you could move into more complicated roles, right? And now we'll cover bug bounties, right? So I'll keep the last 10 to 15 minutes for questions. So what are bug bounties, right? So a bug bounty is a reward that is offered to an ethical hacker who identifies a bug, or also known as an error or a vulnerability in a computer program or system. So there are online platforms out there where these ethical hackers will go register themselves and they will pick one company and try to break it. Not exactly break it, but try to find a vulnerability. If they find a vulnerability, they'll be paid for it. So this can range from like $100 to 15,000, 20,000, $30,000 as well. It's usually in dollars. So bug bounty programs are very lucrative to earn money, right? So it like many college freshers do it. But the problem here is I don't recommend this. Why? Because you must learn the basics first before you enter into bug bounty. Yes, you could earn money, but that's not what you're in college for. You're in college to learn, right? So learn the basics during your time. Don't chase after money. Like the money will come. Don't worry about that. Just learn the basics. So don't waste your time searching for issues, searching for network misconfigurations, reporting it, waiting for that $100. Don't do all that now. Just learn, grow your knowledge. Because eventually when you keep growing your knowledge, people will see that you're growing your knowledge and they will approach you with internships and job offers. And any role it is, no matter what role you're going into, understand software development as thoroughly and as deeply as you can, because that is what drives the entire software industry. Now, I am a security engineer, but if you see in my title, it says security software engineer. So software is the king of everything, or the queen of everything, I guess you could say, right? So you must make sure that the software development lifecycle is something that you understand very, very, very well. The waterfall model, the agile model, etc. You will learn it. So make sure you pay very much close attention and don't bunk those classes, right? Bunk any other class you want except software dev, except computer architecture. These are all key areas, right? I wish someone had told this to me because I used to bunk all these classes and I wish I did not. So spend time learning valuable skills, right? So don't instead of learning how to do bug bounties, learn the basics first. That is much more valuable. So for example, if you go to hackerone.com, not one, ONE, if you go to hackerone.com, you'll be able to see the vulnerability response program for Amazon. So they will say, if you find this vulnerability, we'll pay you this much, right? And now just like a brief, what does it take to be a professional based on everything I've said so far? Security is a mindset, right? It's a way about thinking it's about how you think about the world. So a hacker is someone who can, cobble stuff up, rip it apart, see how it works, then put it back together, right? So you could hack a tool that works one way or add some other piece to it, and suddenly it'll do something else, right? Something it was not intended to do. So that's the beauty of hacking. That's the interesting part about it, right? So what are the things you need? You need curiosity, as I said before, and you need a desire to learn. Now, bear this in mind. Security is not a domain which you can learn and stop. It's a constant learning process. You cannot learn data structures, algorithms, and just like land a software role and forget about learning. Every day you have to learn. So, sorry. And also hardworking. You cannot just learn and drop it. You must constantly learn, like as I said, right? So that brings me to the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I am open to questions right now. Before that, you might have learned a lot of new things right now. So naturally, there'll be a plethora of questions. So don't feel shy. Ask me any question you have. I'll be open to answer them. Yeah. Oh, and also before I leave, wait, this is my LinkedIn profile in case you want to connect. Where's the chat? There's no chat option here. Oh, chat and chase are only team members. Okay, fine. I'll just share the link over here in the screen itself then so that it's visible. So it's tiny.cc/RiyazLI. And I also have a resource sheet for you, which you can use. So just type a tiny.cc/security with an S capital and underscore VIT. It'll give you access to all the like images and a couple of other tips that I have in a PDF, like inside Notion, right? So yeah, I'll just stop it at this slideshow. And yeah, like questions. Guys, any questions? How do you start into security? Any interesting stories? Any questions? Where is this? Yeah. No questions at all? You could also post in chat, but I think chat is only available for team members. So just like unmute yourself and feel free to ask any questions you have, like how to enter security, any interesting incidents that have happened, or any other questions.
Sir, we have a question in the chat box. Yogant is asking, what was your personal experience as a security software engineer?
Personal experience, as in, is there anything specific you're asking, or just my like in general my experience? Okay, so I'll tell you guys how I ended up in security, right? So in my second year of college, my first year I did absolutely nothing. I was just going out eating biryani all day. But in my second year was when I actually started entering into the different domains. I started off with natural language processing, then I went into artificial intelligence, and then I landed up in security. I was like, hey, it sounds interesting. Let's explore security. So I was just watching some YouTube videos, just connecting with people on LinkedIn. And then I came across a couple of these Udemy courses on security. I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. It was just like 400 bucks. That is 4 biryanis for me back then. I was like, okay, fine. I will give up 4 biryanis and I will learn security. So I was studying security more. And that's when I sort of got hooked into this entire domain that I was like, okay, this is really good. So in my second year, I started, and ever since I just decided security was my domain, right? And for my fourth year placements, I did not study DSA. If you ask me a linked list, I know what linked lists are, but if you ask me like to write the code for a binary tree or something, I have no clue how to do that, right? So I took a risk. So the risk I took was during my final year placements, I did not prepare for DSA like every other classmate of mine did. They got placed in PayPal, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, you name it, they got placed. I did not get placed because I picked security, right? I took a risk. But eventually, I think when in my seventh semester, I got placed in a startup called Hippo Video, HIPPO. So that's a startup based out of the USA. So I was the first security hire there. So they hired me to sort of build the entire security for their startup from ground zero. That was the first role that I got on security. And I worked for 6 months as an intern, then got converted into full time. I worked there for 2 years and then I shifted to another startup called ChargeB, where I'm currently working. There are a lot of VIT, current VIT fourth years are actually working in my security team as well. We have Abhinav Gupta, we have Srijan Tripathi. So these are just the people from your college who are working in my team right now. So yeah, that is just a good experience. So if you're willing to take the risk, it's a very good domain because you don't have to apply for jobs. They'll come to you if you have the knowledge. So that is just one thing I can tell for sure, right? And yeah, that's how I entered into security. Any other specific questions?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Hi, yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Sir, I wanted to ask about the future of cybersecurity and like we as students, what upcoming trends we could look forward to.
Upcoming trends in security. Awesome. DevSecOps, that is the latest trend in security. So we are moving away from a more traditional approach to security and moving towards an approach. Okay, so for this, you need to understand what is the waterfall model and the like agile model. Before, softwares were built top down, right? So you would have the requirements and then that will go for 1 month. And for the next month, you will sort of architect it. Then you will build it for the next month. So it would take 1 year to build software. That was the waterfall model, right? Earliest stages of software. Now what we're doing is every day we are releasing software. Every single day we'll release an update. This is called the like agile model of software, where every day we quickly like iterate and give like release newer and newer updates to the software. That is why if you look at in your iPhones and your Androids, you have multiple updates coming to your applications, right? Because they're not following the waterfall model anymore. They're following the like agile model. So because of this shift from waterfall into the like agile model, there is a complete shift in how security works. Before, security would happen for every single stage eventually. So when you're in the requirement stage, the security team will come and see the requirements. Now it's not possible. Everything is happening so fast, right? Which is why the latest trend in security is something called DevSecOps, which is what I'm working into. So DevSecOps basically will integrate security into every stage of the software lifecycle. So uh, you have code, test, build, deploy. Then again, it'll go back to code, test, build, deploy. So it's like a life cycle which goes in a circle, right? So what DevSecOps will do is embed security code, security test, security build, security deploy. So it'll embed security into this entire life cycle so that even though the software deployment is very, very fast, security is able to keep up with it. So what I do is I integrate several tools into the life cycle, into the CI/CD pipeline, which is called the continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline. So because of this shift in the DevOps culture, so this entire culture is called DevOps, right? Developer operations. Because of this shift, we are now moving towards DevSecOps. So if you want to learn more about it, just read about DevOps, then you will eventually like end up in DevSecOps. That is one shift. The second shift is into cloud security, I would say, because every single organization is deploying their resources on cloud. So cloud security is also equally important. These are the two new future trends that I see. One more could be quantum security. So that is for the more research enthusiastic people. So we know quantum computing is real, right? So like quantum computing is basically it's not like ones and zeros. So you'll have a qubit. So like a qubit can be any value between 0 and 1 and a mix of like values. It'll have a little bit of 0, a little bit of 1. So it's not binary computation, it's quantum computing, right? So that's the basic of quantum computation. So quantum security is also something that you could look forward to, because eventually when quantum computing comes around, all the encryption methods that we have right now is going to fail, because quantum computing will eat all these encryption methods for breakfast. So what you should do is you should basically look into quantum computing as a new domain, right? And quantum security as well. That will also help. So DevSecOps, cloud security, quantum security. Yeah. Any other questions? Just make sure you guys got this link, right? This will be quite helpful for you all.
Sir, I guess there are none questions. Sir, I'd like to now present the vote of thanks.
Okay.
So, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the brilliant session on careers on cybersecurity. I, on behalf of iQuest, would like to thank for the valuable time that you have given us out of your busy schedule. Your session surely will have a long-lasting impact and will open doors for students in the space of cybersecurity. Second of all, I would like to thank all the members involved in the conduction of the successful event. And lastly, I would like to thank the audience for being so patient and listening carefully. You have been a wonderful audience. I'm sure you guys had a great time and will take something back with you with yourself. Hope you guys have a good day. Thank you, on behalf of the whole team iQuest from VIT Hello. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend ahead. Bye.